The silence of deep space shattered as the first explosions ripped through the Valoran research station. Sung Park watched the holographic display, his dark eyes reflecting the cascading destruction. Millions of kilometers away, an entire civilization was being erased in moments. The Valoran were peaceful explorers, scientists who had spent centuries mapping the galaxy's most intricate cosmic phenomena. They had been humanity's closest allies for over 100 years, sharing technology, knowledge, and a deep friendship that transcended typical interstellar relationships. Now they were being systematically destroyed by the Galactic Council. Aria, the advanced AI system integrated into Earth's defense network, began processing the incoming data streams. Fragments of communication, scattered distress signals, and visual records painted a horrifying picture of complete annihilation. The Galactic Council's ships moved with calculated precision, destroying research facilities, civilian settlements, and orbital platforms with cold, mechanical efficiency. Commander Park's hands clenched into tight fists. He had received the initial reports just hours ago, a seemingly routine diplomatic communication that quickly transformed into a nightmare of unprecedented scale. The Valoran ambassador's final transmission was a desperate plea, cut short by explosive decompression. "Analyze," Park commanded, his voice steady despite the rage building inside him. Aria's holographic representation flickered, multiple data streams dancing around her translucent form. Total Valoran population, 4.2 billion. Estimated casualties, 93.7%. Destruction pattern suggests premeditated genocide rather than military conflict. The briefing room remained silent. Military leaders, scientific experts, and government representatives watched the devastating images. No one had expected this. The Valoran had been neutral, respected, integrated into multiple galactic research and diplomatic networks. They had no known enemies, no significant conflicts, no reason to be targeted. Jae Kim, the lead quantum physicist, stepped forward. Her fingers moved across a holographic interface, tracing the attack patterns. "This isn't random," she said. "Look at the precision." They targeted specific research centers, communication hubs, population centers. This was a planned extermination. The images were brutal. Research stations torn apart, orbital platforms reduced to floating debris, entire planetary settlements turned to ash. Thousands of ships, sleek, deadly vessels of the Galactic Council, moved with surgical precision, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. Aria continued her analysis. Probability of survival for remaining Valoran populations, 0.03%. Total infrastructure destruction, 99.8%. Park turned to the assembled team. Decades of diplomatic relationships, scientific collaboration, and mutual respect were being erased in hours. The Valoran had been more than allies. They were friends, partners in humanity's greatest scientific adventures. "We need a response," Park said quietly. The room understood the unspoken implication. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about sending a message that would echo through the galaxy. Yuna Choi, the diplomatic strategist, reviewed the communication logs. No official declaration of war, no diplomatic communication, just pure systematic destruction. The holographic displays showed the scale of the attack. Entire planetary systems reduced to debris fields. Research stations that had been studying quantum mechanics, exploring dark matter, developing technologies that could revolutionize space travel, all gone. "They didn't just kill a civilization," Jae Kim whispered. "They erased potential, generations of knowledge, destroyed in moments." Aria's systems began processing potential response scenarios, millions of strategic calculations per second, developing response protocols that would not just retaliate but ensure such an event could never happen again. Park knew what was coming. Earth would not just respond, they would transform. Every resource, every technological capability would be focused on a single objective. The Galactic Council would learn that attacking humanity's friends meant facing consequences beyond imagination. Besor. Room felt the shift. Military personnel straightened. Scientists began rapid system preparations. Engineers started designing weapons that existed only in theoretical models. A global consciousness was forming, a unified determination that would reshape galactic politics forever. "Prepare everything," Park commanded. "We're going to war." Aria's final calculation appeared on the main display. Probability of complete Galactic Council infrastructure destruction, 97.6%. The devastation of the Valoran would be the last mistake the Galactic Council would ever make. The world transformed overnight. Every research facility, industrial complex, and technological center became a weapon factory. Sung Park stood at the center of Earth's global defense initiative, watching as humanity unified with a speed that shocked even the most optimistic observers. J. Kim's quantum research team worked around the clock. They had always been theoretical scientists exploring the boundaries of physics and technology. Now they became architects of destruction. Quantum disruption generators that once seemed like impossible dreams were now being rushed into production. Nanotechnology that could deconstruct entire ship systems was no longer a scientific curiosity, but a weapon of strategic importance. Aria, the AI system, became the central nervous system of humanity's response. Her processing capabilities expanded exponentially. What used to take months of calculation now happened in milliseconds. She analyzed every piece of available data about the Galactic Council, their ship designs, communication protocols, defensive systems. Each piece of information became a potential weapon. Military bases around the world converted with remarkable speed. Training simulations became brutal and realistic. Soldiers who had never seen actual combat were now preparing for a war that would redefine human potential. Advanced exoskeleton technologies previously developed for medical and industrial use were now being weaponized. Yuna Choi worked on diplomatic strategies, though her approach was far from traditional. She wasn't seeking peace, she was preparing psychological warfare that would break the Galactic Council's spirit. Communication protocols were developed to spread strategic misinformation, to create doubt and fear among enemy ranks. The global economy shifted. Countries that had been economic competitors now worked as a single unit. Resources were redirected. Entire industries were repurposed. Satellite production facilities became weapons manufacturing centers. Research universities transformed into strategic planning hubs. Huan Li, the surviving Valoran strategist, provided critical insights. His knowledge of Galactic Council technologies became a crucial asset. He showed human engineers subtle weaknesses in their ship designs, communication networks, and strategic approaches. What the Galactic Council thought was their strength would become their ultimate vulnerability. Space construction facilities worked non-stop. Ships that would have taken years to develop were now being completed in weeks. Advanced propulsion systems, quantum communication networks, adaptive armor technologies, everything was accelerated. The human capacity for rapid innovation became a weapon more powerful than any traditional military technology. Aria's strategic models were terrifying in their precision. She could predict enemy movements, calculate potential counterattacks, and develop response strategies faster than any biological intelligence could comprehend. The AI wasn't just a tool. She was becoming the central intelligence of humanity's revenge. Psychological preparation was equally important. Global media broadcasts transformed. News channels became recruitment platforms. Every citizen understood the stakes. The massacre of the Valoran wasn't just an attack on an alien civilization. It was an attack on humanity's potential future. Scientific breakthroughs happened daily. Quantum entanglement communication systems that could transmit information faster than light. Adaptive nanite technologies that could repair spacecraft in real time. Energy weapons that could disable entire fleet segments without traditional destructive methods. Park understood that this wasn't just about military preparation. This was about redefining humanity's place in the galaxy. The Galactic Council had made a fundamental mistake. They had underestimated human potential for adaptation and revenge. Training simulations became brutal and realistic. Soldiers practiced fighting in zero-gravity environments, learned to use quantum disruption weapons, and understood that this was more than a typical military engagement. This was about sending a message that would echo through galactic civilizations for generations. The world's best minds worked together. Physicists, engineers, military strategists, AI experts, all united with a single purpose. They weren't just preparing for war. They were designing a technological revolution that would reshape understanding of warfare, technology, and interstellar conflict. AREA's final preparation report was chilling in its simplicity. Total human mobilization complete. Probability of successful strategic response, 99.7%. Sung Park looked at the holographic displays showing global preparation. Humanity was no longer just a planetary civilization. They were becoming something more, a unified technological force that would remake the galaxy's understanding of conflict and survival. The preparation was complete. Humanity was ready. The first strike came without warning. Sung Park watched from the command center as humanity's quantum disruption waves swept through the Galactic Council's defensive lines. Ships that moments ago represented overwhelming military power simply stopped. AREA's calculations had been perfect. The quantum weapons didn't destroy ships. They systematically dismantled their fundamental operational capabilities. Massive warships became floating debris, their complex systems reduced to useless metal shells. No explosions, no traditional destruction, just complete technological neutralization. Huan Li, the Valoran survivor, stood beside Park. His eyes reflected a mixture of revenge and strategic calculation. "They never understood our potential," he whispered, watching holographic displays showing human ships moving like ghosts through enemy territories. The first wave targeted communication networks. Within moments, the Galactic Council lost its primary coordination systems. Thousands of ships became isolated, unable to communicate or receive strategic instructions. Their advanced technology became their greatest weakness. J. Kim's quantum research team had developed something unprecedented. Weapons that didn't just destroy, they transformed. Nanite swarms infiltrated enemy ship systems, rewriting fundamental operational codes. Entire fleet segments became confused, their advanced AI systems suddenly speaking human languages, displaying Earth's strategic messages. Yuna Choi's psychological warfare protocols activated simultaneously. Encrypted communications began spreading. Through Galactic Council networks, detailed records of their genocide against the Valoran, strategic vulnerabilities, internal corruption. The enemy's own communication systems became tools of their psychological destruction. Space became a canvas of technological marvel. Human ships moved with impossible precision. Quantum entanglement communication allowed instantaneous strategic coordination. Where Galactic Council ships followed traditional movement patterns, human vessels adapted, shifted, became unpredictable. The technological supremacy was total. Adaptive camouflage systems made human ships nearly invisible. Energy. Redirection technologies meant traditional weapons simply passed through their defensive shields. Every technological advantage the Galactic Council believed they possessed was systematically dismantled. AREA's strategic calculations were happening faster than biological intelligence could comprehend. Each enemy movement was predicted, each potential counterattack neutralized before it could form. The AI had become more than a strategic tool. She was the central intelligence of humanity's revenge. Military analysts watching the conflict couldn't believe their systems. Battles that would have traditionally taken weeks were resolved in minutes. The Galactic Council's most advanced warships became nothing more than expensive metal containers, completely neutralized by human technological innovation. Quantum disruption. Waves continued their systematic destruction. But this wasn't about complete annihilation. This was a precise surgical strike designed to send a message. Humanity could destroy the Galactic Council completely, but they wanted them to understand the depth of their technological superiority. Huan Li provided critical tactical insights. His understanding of Galactic Council technologies allowed human strategists to target specific vulnerabilities. Communication relays, power distribution systems, strategic command centers, everything was systematically disabled. The psychological impact was immediate. Galactic Council communication channels began showing panic. Their most advanced military leaders watched in real time as their technological superiority was completely dismantled. Human ships moved like quantum ghosts, striking with impossible precision. Park understood this was more than a military engagement. This was a demonstration of humanity's potential. Every technological breakthrough, every scientific advancement humanity had ever achieved was being showcased in this single moment of strategic perfection. Aria's final strike calculations were brutal in their efficiency. Total Galactic Council. Defensive capabilities neutralized. Psychological impact. Maximum disruption achieved. The first strikes weren't just about revenge. They were a message written in the language of technological supremacy. The Galactic Council had made a fundamental mistake. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for innovation, adaptation, and strategic thinking. Space became silent. Thousands of disabled Galactic Council ships floated like abandoned monuments to their own technological arrogance. Humanity had not just struck back. They had redefined the very understanding of technological warfare. The message was clear. Never again would anyone underestimate human potential. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Humanity's initial strikes had been more than a military response. They were a complete restructuring of interstellar conflict. Sung Park knew this was the moment that would define generations. Aria's psychological warfare protocols began targeting the core of the Galactic Council's infrastructure. Communication networks became weapons. Every encrypted channel spread information designed to create maximum internal confusion. Reports of internal corruption, strategic failures, and systematic incompetence flooded their communication systems. Huan Li, the Valoran survivor, became a critical strategic asset. His detailed knowledge of Galactic Council internal structures allowed human strategists to target the most vulnerable points. What seemed like random strikes were actually precisely calculated attacks designed to dismantle their entire political and military framework. The human expeditionary fleets moved with impossible precision. Quantum adaptive technologies made their ships nearly invincible. Where traditional military forces would concentrate on direct conflict, human strategists focused on complete system disruption. Power grids, communication networks, transportation systems. Everything was systematically neutralized. J. Kim's research team continued developing technologies that redefined warfare. Adaptive nanite systems could now infiltrate and completely rewrite enemy ship operational protocols. Entire fleet segments could be turned into passive observation platforms with a simple quantum signal. Yuna Choi's diplomatic strategies created maximum psychological pressure. She wasn't just fighting a war. She was dismantling the Galactic Council's entire political structure. Encrypted communications exposed internal conflicts, revealed hidden agendas, and systematically destroyed their unified front. The turning point wasn't about military destruction. It was about showing the galaxy a new model of conflict resolution. Humanity demonstrated that technological superiority wasn't about overwhelming force, but about precise, calculated intervention. Surviving Valoran researchers were integrated into human strategic teams. Their knowledge became a critical asset. What the Galactic Council thought was a complete genocide became the source of their ultimate defeat. Each Valoran survivor brought technological insights that accelerated human strategic capabilities. Aria's strategic calculations became legendary. She could predict enemy movements with impossible accuracy. Entire battle scenarios were resolved before they could fully develop. The AI had transformed from a strategic tool to the central intelligence, driving humanity's response. Space became a canvas of technological marvel. Human ships moved like quantum ghosts, striking with impossible precision. Traditional military strategies became obsolete. The Galactic Council's most advanced defensive systems were neutralized without a single traditional explosive being used. Park understood this was more than a military engagement. This was a demonstration of humanity's potential for adaptation, innovation, and strategic thinking. Every technological breakthrough was being showcased in this single moment of collective human effort. The psychological impact was total. Other galactic civilizations watched in a mixture of terror and fascination. Humanity wasn't just fighting a war. They were redefining the entire concept of interstellar conflict. Their technological capabilities seemed to defy conventional understanding. Quantum communication networks allowed instantaneous strategic coordination. Where traditional military forces would take weeks to plan an operation, human forces could adapt and respond in milliseconds. Area's processing capabilities meant that every potential enemy movement was predicted and neutralized before it could fully form. Huan Li's insights became crucial. He showed how the Valoran's scientific research, combined with human technological innovation, could create strategies that the Galactic Council could never comprehend. Each strike was more than a military action. It was a statement of technological superiority. The surviving Valoran researchers worked alongside human teams with a sense of purpose. What started as a genocide had transformed into the most significant technological revolution in galactic history. Their lost civilization would become the catalyst for a new understanding of interstellar potential. Area's final strategic assessment was chilling in its simplicity. Galactic Council political and military infrastructure 87% neutralized. Psychological impact, maximum disruption achieved. Sung Park looked at the holographic displays. The galaxy was changing. Humanity had not just responded to an attack. They had demonstrated a new model of technological and strategic thinking that would reshape interstellar relationships forever. The turning point was complete. The message was clear. Humanity would define its own destiny. The final confrontation lasted less than an hour. Sung Park watched as humanity's strategic precision dismantled the last remnants of the Galactic Council's leadership. This wasn't just a military victory. It was a complete restructuring of galactic political dynamics. Area's quantum networks had already predicted every possible defensive strategy. The Galactic Council's most advanced leaders found themselves trapped, their communication systems compromised, their defensive technologies neutralized before they could even activate. Each movement was anticipated, each strategy countered with mathematical precision. Huan Li stood beside Park, representing the surviving Valoran civilization. His presence was more than symbolic. The technological insights from the Valoran research teams had been crucial in humanity's ultimate victory. What began as a complete genocide had transformed into the most significant technological revolution in galactic history. J. Kim's final weapon was unprecedented. Quantum adaptive networks that could completely rewrite entire planetary communication and power infrastructures. The Galactic Council's most secure systems became vulnerable in moments. Their technology, once considered unbreakable, now looked like primitive artifacts. The new interstellar governance model was being drafted in real time. Yuna Choi led the diplomatic reconstruction, ensuring that no civilization could ever again conduct a systematic genocide without immediate and overwhelming consequences. The framework went beyond traditional diplomatic protocols. It was a complete reimagining of interstellar relationships. Surviving Galactic Council leaders were given a choice: complete cooperation or total technological isolation. Their advanced technologies were systematically neutralized. Quantum encryption systems ensured they could never rebuild their previous military capabilities. Humanity wasn't just winning a war, they were preventing future conflicts. Area's strategic calculations continued to run. Each potential scenario was analyzed, each potential conflict pathway mapped. The AI had become more than a strategic tool. She was the central intelligence ensuring long-term galactic stability. Her processing capabilities meant that potential conflicts could be identified and neutralized before they could fully form. The memorial construction began immediately. On the reconstructed Valoran homeworld, a massive structure would stand as a testament to the civilization that was lost and the technological revolution that followed. Each stone, each design element told the story of survival, innovation, and ultimate justice. Park understood this was about more than revenge. This was about creating a new model of interstellar cooperation. The technologies developed during the conflict would revolutionize space exploration, scientific research, and potential peaceful interactions between civilizations. Quantum communication networks became the new standard. Instantaneous information sharing, adaptive technologies that could prevent conflicts before they could develop, communication systems that broke down traditional barriers between different civilizations. Humanity had transformed from a planetary civilization to a true galactic force. The surviving Valoran researchers worked alongside human teams with a sense of purpose that transcended traditional scientific collaboration. Their lost civilization would become the catalyst for a new understanding of technological potential. Each breakthrough was a memorial to those who were lost. Aria's final assessment was both a strategic report and a philosophical statement. Galactic, political restructuring, 94% complete. Probability of future large-scale conflicts, 0.03%. Huan Li looked at the holographic displays showing the reconstruction efforts. What had begun as a complete destruction of his civilization had transformed into the most significant technological and diplomatic revolution in galactic history. The Valoran sacrifice would not be forgotten. The memorial's inscription was simple but powerful. From destruction comes understanding. From loss comes innovation. J. Kim reviewed the final technological adaptations. Quantum adaptive networks that could prevent conflicts, communication systems that could translate and understand different civilizational perspectives, technological frameworks that prioritized cooperation over conflict. Yuna Choi finalized the diplomatic protocols. No civilization would ever again have the capability to conduct a systematic genocide. The new interstellar governance model was built on technological transparency, immediate conflict resolution, and a fundamental understanding of mutual survival. Sung Park stood at the center of the command center, watching the final reconstruction efforts. Humanity had not just won a war, they had transformed the very understanding of interstellar relationships. The Galactic Council's attack had been their ultimate mistake.